Welcome to the October 22nd, 2024 City Council meeting. We'll start with the prayer. Dear God, today's the session opens. We pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction, which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Dakota. Council Gitchia.
Here.
Council Janess.
Here.
Council Mercia.
Here.
Council Noon.
Yeah.
Council Robinson.
Here.
Mayor Rourke.
Here.
Council Scott.
Here.
Council Yem.
Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Council Chow.
Here.
It's 11 present.
A moment of silence. Moving on. Mayor's Business 2.1, Communication, Remote Zoom Participation. Motion to accept and place on file by Council Gitchia, second by Council Janess. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 3.1, minutes of the Transportation Subcommittee, October 15th. City Council regular meeting, October 15th for acceptance by Council Mercer, second by Council Noon. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, that motion passes. Section 4, City Council motions, 4.1. Council Gitchia. Request City Manager to have the Law Department draft an ordinance banning second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides from being used in the city of Lowell, seconded by Councilor Janess. Councilor Gitchia.
There is a registered speaker here, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Clerk.
Emily Toronto. Guess not.
You want to put it to the end, come back to it, or what do you want to do?
We can come back to it if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor. We can come back.
Yeah,
Either way.
You expecting her?
Yeah, she had called and
Okay,
said she
no
was.
problem, yeah. We'll go to 4.2.
Thank you.
Councilor Gitchia. Request City Manager to have the Law Department provide the City Council on the legality of repairing potholes on unaccepted streets that could potentially damage emergency vehicles and/or plow trucks. Second by Councilor Robertson. Councilor Gitchia.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sure you, as well as all of us in the council, have gotten calls about unaccepted streets and repairs to them and what bad conditions they're in. And I'm just wondering if there's a mechanism there that, we do plow these roads and we do drive over with emergency vehicles and other pieces of apparatus. So my question just comes down to, is there a mechanism that could be put in place where a small patch to a hole could be done, or, just a little patch at the end of even at the end of the process of paving roads when the asphalt needs to get put out in areas where you're just in a section, that can we fill some of these little holes on these roads to make them somewhat passable? I think there's an advantage to the city as well as the taxpayers. I mean, most of these people probably bought their homes and didn't understand that they were unaccepted roads, because most people don't even understand what an unaccepted road is. But I think that if we could get out there, we may be able to even saving ourselves some equipment failures, because we go over and we plow them and break plow blades and you don't know what's going on, and we may be able to save some time. So that really is the driver behind this, is that how do we give back to residents at the same time who pay taxes? But I think going forward at the same time, we have to hold new builders accountable to make sure that we do put in all accepted roads so we get our Chapter 90 funds. So that's really the question to the city solicitor. Is there a mechanism where there's no liability if we go over and just throw some asphalt on a little area? I'm not asking for major infrastructure upgrades, but just, is there a mechanism where we wouldn't be liable if we just filled in some potholes? So that's really what the premise of the motion is.
Favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 4.3. Councilor Scott, Councilor Robertson, Councilor Gitchia. Request City Manager invite the delegation to come before the council and chambers to discuss and update the council on important state issues affecting the city. Prior motion filed January 23rd, 2024. Councilor Scott, you can go.
Thank you,
Actually, you know
Mr.
what? If you want to just take 411, this is kind of similar. Want to just bang it out of the way right now? Is that
Sure.
okay? Yeah. All right. By Councilor Robertson.
You can
second
take
by Councilor
442.
Gitchia.
442 if you want.
Say again, probably.
44.
4,
awesome.
4, okay, yeah, all right, 4, and 4-2. 4, Council Scott requests City Manager requests an update from the delegation on Senate Bill 2470 legislation regarding Rivers Ed project. And also 411 by myself, request the City Council endorse and send a letter of support to State Delegation for House Bill 5077. Councilor Scott.
Okay. Thank you. So the first motion is the refile of a prior motion inviting the delegation here to discuss some important issues. I had seen that the members of the delegation have gone to the Chelmsford Board of Selectmen meetings to talk about important issues like housing, ADUs, and I'd like to open that discussion here. There's a lot of bills that are out there right now around mental health, substance abuse and treatment, tax credits for housing that are very relevant to issues that we've been talking about here on the floor. So if that could happen, I don't know whether or not the invitation was already extended in the past or not. And the second motion is around the River's Edge project, which is waiting for legislation to pass that will move forward the ability for them to remove restrictions to develop 32 duplexes that we are in desperate need for in the city, additional housing, home ownership opportunities. And it also would lead to the development of infrastructure that hasn't been able to be developed on the site due to the project not moving forward. So there's light fixtures, drainage issues on the site because the project is stagnant right now. So if we could get that update, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Thank you to my colleague. I think this motion, it's pretty clear. Time and time again, different issues come up in the chamber. We're seeking answers as well. And I think by inviting the delegation in, hopefully they can provide us with some answers if possible. And if not, if there's no answers to be given, at least they can understand what our priorities are and they can go back and get us some answers, because in many areas, as the public's well aware, the administration and my colleagues are aware, we've been struggling to keep our head above water. And I think it's time that we invite people in for a conversation and explain, hey, look, we're doing everything in our power we can, and some assistance on your level would be greatly appreciated. And they've been great partners in the past, so I look forward to them hopefully coming in and working with us on this. So thank you.
Quickly, I'll just speak on 411. The House bill that has passed, and hopefully it's getting through the Senate as we speak. But in that appropriation bill, there's $6 million just for the renovation of the Lasher Park. For some reason, this stalled in the Senate before, so hopefully with the City Council's support and endorsement, we can hopefully push this through. We talk about, I know it was motions filed, and about getting another baseball team in here and using the field for city events for kids. So this is of importance to us, just as important as it is to the University of Massachusetts at Lowell. And hopefully we can get this done soon, Mr. Manager, and we can get this letter out by the end of the week. Does that make sense to you, Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council, I've spoken to the senator and has indicated a willingness to come in after the election. The election's next week, into a subcommittee format to find out if there's other issues here. So the subcommittee format was the idea that he had put forward, saying that he was speaking for the delegation as a whole.
Okay, and just for the record, that this appropriation bill passed the House in like 2 days, 3 days. So just curious if if there's a reason why it's delayed in the Senate. Any idea?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council, I don't know at this time, but I'm quite confident that the House and the Senate conferees are discussing it through Ways and Means. So I can find out what that, again, in regards to the $6 million, in regards to the update on the delegation, the River's Edge project, we will find out that I believe that is sitting as well. And time is of the essence on both of these, or actually, quite frankly, all three of those. We did extend the invitation, but that invitation was delayed. And currently, right now, we're waiting on I think it's next Tuesday, quite frankly. 2 Tuesdays from now, I apologize. From the election standpoint, we'll have, I believe, the full delegation and at least a subcommittee hearing within weeks after that. That's what was the information that was given to me by the senator.
Thank you. Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So all the three motion is very important. Really good timing for it as well. I know that tonight the manager have information report on Colley Stadium. Certainly the project do need those $6 million supplemental budget or earmark from, not just the House, but hopefully that the Senate will push it through so that we can have that money for the Colley project. As far as the South Lowell, Councilor Scott mentions that the 32 duplex is really needed. Also address the issue of drainage in that areas as well. It has been for a couple of years now, so hopefully when that money is get passed and get sent to the low housing authorities, and they can start their projects soon enough. And ongoing, I guess, is a good practice to have the delegation come on as often as can, report to. I mean, we can work together because this is teamwork. No one can do it alone. So really is a good three motion is really hit on what is important for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? I'm sorry, you want to speak, Councilor Young? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment on the River Edge project. I have filed a motion to have the Director Tachan of the Low Housing to come and to address the subcommittee. And maybe when he's here, in addition to the Merrimack Corridor development, he also can update the subcommittee on the progress of the River Edge project as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You got it. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All motions passed. Returning to 4.1, Councilor Getchia requests city manager of the law department draft an ordinance banning second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides. Thank you, Councilor, from being used in the city of Lowell. It was seconded by Councilor Janess. Mr. Clerk, the speaker is here.
Emily Toronto.
Good evening. My name is Emily Toronto, and I have lived in Lowell for the past 6 years. I am a founding member of Lowell Loves Wildlife, a group started in January by myself and Christine Wilkins from downtown Lowell. Our mission is to protect the many natural resources in Lowell, as well as our community members, pets, and wildlife. This campaign, specifically, is to save raptors and other wildlife from the dangers of second-generation anticoagulant rodenticide. That's a mouthful, so most people refer to them as eschar.
Tell me about that. Oh, yeah.
We're trying to educate the community and build awareness about the dangers of these poisons. Lowell Loves Wildlife has hosted and participated in several community events over the past 9 months where residents expressed concern, passion, and want to see action. Alongside Mass Audubon and other wildlife and environmental organizations, we're working towards reducing the use of rodenticides across Massachusetts. The reckless use of rodenticides impacts everything in our community, not just raptors. The recent increasing prevalence of rodenticide in our society has documented cases of affecting our pets, water, soil, surrounding wildlife, and even our children. These eschar poisons are hiding all around the city in black bait boxes located both inside and outside homes, restaurants, schools, and businesses, just to name a few places. Sometimes these boxes are even disguised to look like rocks. The rodent ingests the poison in the bait box, but typically does not die there. The rat typically dies in a secondary location where a raptor, fox, dog, or other animal will most likely eat it, thinking they have stumbled upon an easy meal. These poisons are especially dangerous because any other creature that eats the poison rat will also suffer the poison's effects. These boxes are also not as tamper-proof as they claim to be and pose a serious threat when near children or pets. Best practices for pest control companies in Mass call for adherence to integrated pest management, or IPM, protocols. These protocols include using eschars as a last, not a first, resort for rodent control. We request the city ban, except for public health emergencies, the use of eschars in or on city property, the only exception being while still meeting residents' need of reducing the growing rodent population. Alternative methods to using eschars are just as, if not more effective than using eschars themselves. We ask the city to adopt true integrated pest management strategies and to stop using vendors that don't offer alternatives to these insidious poisons. A growing number of Massachusetts cities and towns, including Arlington, Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, Lexington, Watertown, Brookline, Newbury, and Newton, have discontinued the use of escars on city and town-owned property due to the proven devastation they are causing. These cities and towns are taking action now to stop the proliferation of these deadly poisons throughout their communities. Lowell prides itself on being a green, progressive city. I believe this to be true, but in order for it to uphold that reputation, Lowell cannot overlook the escar issue. The river hawk is a symbol of UMass Lowell. To spread poisons that have the potential to needlessly injure and in some cases kill the hawks and other precious wildlife that live along the river and canals is not green or environmentally progressive. We implore the city to think about the greater ramifications of not restricting their use of escars. Raptors are natural predators to rodents, and a single raptor kills approximately 1,000 to 2,000 rodents per year. So the death of even a single raptor can be catastrophic to combating the ever-growing rat and mice populations that are tormenting our residents. Please continue to keep our community safe and be a beacon for environmental protection. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilor Getchia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and also to the speaker, Emily. I made a mistake on the motion. The last part of it should read in City of Lowell municipal buildings, not throughout the city. It would just be City of Lowell municipal buildings. So if you want, I'll reread what the motion should read for the clerk and for the solicitor. Request the city manager have the law department draft an ordinance banning secondary generation anticoagulant rodicides from being used in the City of Lowell municipal buildings. Or parks also. Thank you, Mr. Janess. The reason for this motion is to protect the wildlife and to improve on the intent of former Governor Salucci's Child Protection Act requirements of 2000. In the plan, it requires schools to develop an integrated pest management program, which they call an IPM. The IPM is an effective and environmentally sensitive approach to pest management that relies on a combination of common sense practices. It should be developed to manage pest damage by the most economical means and with the least possible hazard to people, property, and the environment. 24 years later, many IPMs have addressed the environmental issues from using the second generational anticoagulant rodicides. All are banned because of a federal law in 2015 that stopped the retail sale to the consumer, and they can only be purchased by licensed pest control professionals and agricultural users, so that they cannot be purchased by anybody but a pest professional. There is a reason for this. Escars are very bad for the ecosystem, which includes, as the speaker said, hawks, coyotes, fox, cats, dogs, bald eagles, and many more wildlife. Escars are slowly killing off our wildlife before us, and there are other safer methods, as was the intent of former Governor Salucci's Protection Act. If we can do it in the schools and put an IPM plan in place, and we haven't revised them in 24 years to try to get rid of these things, then are we really doing with the intent of what Governor Salucci wanted back in 2000? We need to join the other communities that were outlined. Please join me in supporting the removal of escars from our municipal properties. And we should have further conversations afterwards and see if we could do a home rule petition and ask that they be banned. And I think that is what we should go on this, as we've seen other communities are starting on this, and we could be in the forefront with them. Thank you for your time, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of the council.
Should there be a motion, Councilor, to send it to Board of Health. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we can do that, yeah. Yeah, I would suspect that that's where the city solicitor would go with it. So it would just go to him to draw up the ordinance, and then he would have to speak with them and see, what the highs and lows are. But even after this, if I could also make another motion that we maybe send this conversation over to Facilities Committee, Subcommittee, or wherever the manager thinks it should go.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, what we could probably start off right out of the gate is requiring from the organization we currently use not to be utilizing this type of modern, yeah, exactly. The Modern Pest is the name of the organization, but not allowing them to use a second-generation anti-coagulant rodenticides, if I said that correctly.
Show off.
Show off, yeah. I listened to you 4 times, Mr. Mayor. But we can start there immediately and then start looking from a different perspective if that's the will of the council.
I would ask that would happen, but I also think just for strength purposes, we put it into an ordinance and make sure that is followed through in all municipal buildings and parks.
Second the motion.
Yeah, you got it. Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to my colleague for bringing this forward, and thank you to Ms. Toronto for coming and speaking tonight. I think this is the way we need to go, and clearly other communities are feeling that way as well. I think anything we can do to move this forward and protect our wildlife that is so integral to our city with the rivers here and everything else, I think this is definitely the way to go. So I'm in full support of this motion and look forward to seeing what we can do here.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion is passed. 4.5, Councilor Janess. Request the mayor invite NEMCOG Executive Director to a future City Council meeting to provide updates on current projects and future goals. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a meeting with Jenny Raitt, who's the Executive Director of NEMCOG, a couple weeks ago. We went through everything that the organization is working on here in the city and across the region, and there's some exciting things going on, and she was hopeful for an opportunity to come in, introduce herself to the council and the rest of the folks in this room, and really to further this conversation and loop everyone in and make sure everyone is aware of the things they're working on, much as I am, thanks to representing this board on NEMCOG. So I think that would be a great opportunity for all of us. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 4.6, Councilor Robinson. Request city manager to provide an update on 311 implementation. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Motion speaks for itself.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 4.7, also Councilor Robinson. Request city manager to explore providing all past mayors a free parking placard. Seconded by Councilor Yem. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you.
You want to say current as well?
Honestly, I blame Mayor Samaras for this one because he's been throwing this around so much that I've actually gotten calls. People reached out and said, is it something that the council would consider? And I says, I can't speak for others, but I will bring the motion forward. And I mean, if it's a single parking placard for all prior mayors, I would support that. So
Tell Mr. former Mayor Samaras his pension could pay for parking. For all of us and then some.
Thank you.
So, I mean, what do you want to do on it, anybody else want to speak?
Can we
on it?
take a voice vote?
We'll do a roll call, Mr. Clerk.
I wonder, should I vote?
Council Dakota.
No.
Council Getchia.
No.
Council Janess.
No.
Council Mercia.
Present.
Council Newman.
Present.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Roy.
No.
Council Scott.
No.
Council Young.
No.
Council Belanger.
No.
Council Chow.
Present.
4.8, Councilor Robinson. I'm sure you got a thank you card from a couple of former mayors, Councilor Robinson. That's right, yeah. 4.8, Councilor Robinson, Councilor Getchia, request city manager of the law department draft necessary language to facilitate residents' ability to select our mayor via ballot before the 2025 city council election cycle. No second needed. Gentlemen. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I believe one of our colleagues has brought this up earlier on in the term. I know it was on the ballot. It was overwhelmingly non-binding. The residents said they would be interested in this, and so if it is something that we're going to move towards, I think it's worth bringing up now for a conversation, maybe send it to a subcommittee, because it's going to take some time to even have a fighting chance, I'd imagine, to enact something like this, if that's the wish of the council. So I think we have some time. We don't want to burden the elections department and the law department with something that requires legwork, obviously. So I think it's worth looking at and seeing, is that the wish of the council, because the residents did speak up and say it is something they'd like to see, is to select the mayor. So,
Councilor Getcha.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. As you know, as a non-binding question on city council, a municipal election, this passed overwhelmingly that the residents wanted to vote for the mayor position. I think it's fair. If that's what the residents want, they're the voters, and then they should have their way. It's not anything that shouldn't be put that way. The details to it, I don't think they're that tough that we can't get them done within another few months and make sure that this happens for the 2025, November 2025. So that's really what the point is. We've been sitting on this for many years right now, and I just think it's something that the voters wanted, and it makes sense to try to iron out and get done prior to the next election. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has come up a few times now, and I really think that this needs a more in-depth conversation than just us. I would like to make a motion to refer this to the Rules and Election Law Subcommittee for that discussion. I think it's important that we invite members of the public to come in and discuss this. I would like to say that whatever comes out of that, I look forward to having that discussion here, but I can't see myself supporting anything that does not allow a district councilor to be elected mayor. Thank you.
Councilor Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to hear from Mr. Williams on his thoughts on this. Supposedly, this was a non-binding referendum in 2022. If you can update us.
Mr. Sissa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it was non-binding on not this election, the one from prior. The issue, as I see it, is it actually circles back to the consent decree. And there's language in the consent decree that specifically states that the mayor is to be elected by a majority of the city council, which aligns with Chapter 43, Section 97 for a planning form of government. So that, in terms of moving forward, that is where things stand right now. The only way to deviate from that would be to modify the consent decree, which, again, is possible, but there's a process that you go through in federal court to modify it, whether the opposing attorneys, if they agree or don't agree, is something that you go through in court. And I can tell you that based off of the research that I've done, there's a two-pronged sort of test that you have to use when you go to modify a consent decree. And it's very, very difficult. You have to show an undue hardship that exists because of the consent decree in order to show the judge that this change would be allowed or would be, worthy of that motion. Not saying it can't be done, but that's just how I see it.
Why am I sensing that this is time-consuming?
It would be. It certainly would be. I mean, we would be at the mercy of the federal courts. That is typically slower than it is quick. But again, that part is out of our control.
Thank you.
Councilor Young.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a concern regarding the motion. My concern is that number one, we don't know who will be eligible to run for the mayor, just the at-large councillor or all the district councillor as well. That's number one. Number two, to me, it's like go against the spirit of the consent decree. The consent decree was agreed upon to break up the election system that we had in the city of Lowell, so that there would be no one particular neighborhood control the outcome of the election. So for example, if we say all of the councillors can run for the mayor and run for the council as well, to me, there will be only a certain neighborhood that will control the outcome of who will be the next mayor, and that person or persons will be forever be the mayor of the city of Lowell. Particularly in a majority district like my district, I will never be a mayor in this system. So that's just my observation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is my take on this, and I'm not saying that I'm right, and I'm not saying that this process is wrong. First of all, this was a federal consent decree whereby people went to court and said, I want fairness with the way people vote. Being fair, they took 9 at large and made it 8 districts and 3 at large so that they could be included. And yet I'm hearing that if we went to, would have to go back to court because it would have to show a due hardship. How is it a due hardship when we're asking the public, the residents, the voters to vote for a mayor? How are we any different than the consent decree saying, let's be fair? I personally feel that the people should vote for the mayor. We're not changing the planning form of government whereby we're eliminating the manager. We're still having the manager. No, Tom, don't get nervous. I would never eliminate you. But we're saying, how are we going to vote for a mayor? Is it going to be 11 people to decide, or can the people decide? I'm a firm believer that the people should decide. Having said that, if this were only the at-large people can run for mayor, then I would not support it, because that's not fair. Why people that are running for district can't be mayor? I don't know why they can't. Who said that they can't? Why can't we decide if they can? Of course they should be able to. This is the only reason why I support it, because I've heard it so many times in my travels, people saying, well, why should 9 city councilors vote for a mayor, or 11? Why not the public? Why can't we decide? Not that they'd ever vote for me again to be mayor. I'm not saying that, and I'm not looking to have that, but it's just a way for the people to be involved as they want to be involved with their district and things like that. That's my only take on it. So, and I did kind of allude to making this motion before. That's why I support this motion and trying to clarify it a little bit.
Okay. Councilor Scott, get back to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually made this motion also back in November of '23. I really made it at that time just for us to have a discussion, because the voters had voted. We said, let's have a discussion. And a lot of the discussion happened on the floor that day. Councilor Janess, Councilor Leahy brought up, what did the voters really want a strong mayor? Did they really understand the ballot question? Was it really worded in a way that was, a fair representation? Does it go against the consent decree? Councilor Robinson brought up that this could be a step backwards. Districts that historically vote could control the fate of the mayor positions. Honestly, it really made me think that day that, I don't agree with going backwards, that this was the point of district representation, and it does concern me. So I do like Plan E. I do like our current system, and I don't think that we should move backwards on it. Thank you.
Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I do concur with Councilor Scott about having a discussion, and Councilor Janess is correct. Send it to the Rules Subcommittee, really said to voters, particularly those who want to have a say on who's going to be the mayor, saying that, yes, we do hear you. So we also have some concerns as well. Consent decree is one of them, right? So I think by sending to the Rules Subcommittee, you also asking the city solicitor to communicate, as he has done around this issue, with the plaintiff attorney, and say, this is what the city is trying to do. Any input from you? So let's pull the consent decree and bring it to the Rules Subcommittee, and inviting the public, inviting those who will vote. to have some discussion on it. We want to do it right. We want to do, we don't want to violate the consent decree. At the same time, we do not want to ignore the wish of the voter as well. Do it in a way that is comply with the consent decree, and that's what we need to do. So I think by sending to the rules subcommittee to have rules subcommittee meet and having the city solicitor starting maybe tomorrow, communicated with the plaintiff on the consent decree and see this is what the council have discussed again about, the mayor elections. What say you on this? And then go from there.
Councilor Getchia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love how the way conversation goes full circle, and we talk about the state delegation, how things die that need to be done. We talk about hurdles being put in place, time consuming. I mean, we went, when this got voted in last term, we talked about it when there was a different city solicitor here, and she outlined options. It went off to the elections subcommittee where it died. Councilor Scott is right when she says back in November 2023, she refiled it. And here we are again. It died. It sat there. It did nothing. If a city solicitor today says we don't know what the plaintiffs wanted, and here we are 2.5 years, almost 3 years later, it died. We didn't pick up the phone and call them back then, even though that was the concern back then. We're making up hurdles not to give the people what they want. The people didn't know what they were voting on. Since when do we care about that? They go to a ballot, they circle something, and that's what we run our government by. We don't assume that people know what they're voting for or not voting for. It's you went to the ballot box and you voted. We don't say that you don't know what you're voting for. I think we just put hurdles in the way to say, okay, we have, and we've heard speakers say they don't think it's a good point, but that's not up to us to say. I get it's non-binding, and I get you're elected, and I understand all that, but at the end of the day, it's not time-consuming. It should be something the solicitor comes back with, here are your options. I spoke to the plaintiffs. If it can't be done, then send us your ruling saying this can't be done. Thank you, we're moving on to the next thing. Then the voters don't get their way. But any other way than that, it doesn't make much sense. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city solicitor, he seems like, did you want to say something, Mr. Solicitor?
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so I mean, I can tell you what the two options are right now. And it really is that simple, and just that way it's clear and everyone's on the same page. Even if I were to speak to the plaintiff's counsel, and if they say, yep, we're in favor of this, no problem, or if they came back and say, no, we are adamantly against it. Even if they're in favor, no matter what, we're still going to have to file the exact same modification in federal court. And that goes in front of a judge. And ultimately, that will go through what I explained earlier. So be it. That's out of our control. Also, dependent on that, we would also have to file special legislation to amend plenary form of government, Chapter 43, Section 97. Those are, so whether it's the plaintiff's attorney is in agreement or not, either way, it's going to have to be modified in federal court. And then in conjunction with that, we'll also have to file special legislation.
So whatever has to be done, it has to be done. We were also told at one point we couldn't get it to the voters to vote in special elections, but we could. So I think at the same time, here we are saying things that we have no idea what the outcome will be, and except you do. You have the way, speak to the plaintiff's attorneys, and if that's what the will of the people were, then let's just see what kind of can't be done and put it in writing and send it back. It doesn't need to go off to die in another subcommittee.
Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I think it's an opportunity here. I think this is an opportunity, whether or not it goes through the entire process and the change happens. I still think we have to look at this opportunity, invite in the public, discuss, and some of the concerns that were raised by my colleagues. I mean, this is a blank canvas here. We can carve out and have these discussions and find a compromise that we think and the public think is a good meeting midway point. Is it a percentage vote or who's eligible to run? Is it a separate position that would go on the ballot that you'd have to sign for to be the mayor and run? I mean, all of these questions and concerns that have been raised, the great questions and concerns, and I'm sure the public has a million. So I think by sitting down, carving out what this even looks like before we push it through a process makes the most sense. I mean, it's come up, and as my colleague stated, for conversation and discussion. I agree. Certain points, I don't think we need to carve out something that is going to take anyone backwards. I think, is there a way that we can find, and we have somebody down in elections that's familiar on a state level of what other communities are doing, maybe they have some input. I mean, I think it's worth having the conversation at least, and can we find a carve-out that would allow the residents to select the mayor in a process that's fair and reasonable for all? And what those decisions and parameters look like is yet to be determined. So I think it's only right to have the conversation. And once we have a document that we all can support, then we move forward and see how long the process plays out. But until we can actually carve out what we're even looking at, there's no need to put fears and concerns in the way. I think that this is worth the conversation and inviting as many people to the table as possible to find a suitable means to do this. Thank you.
I'll just say a couple of quick comments from up here, if that's okay. There's a lot of great things about the form of government that we use now with the district councilors. And there's a lot of councilors that are here now that under the old system wouldn't be here. And I think with the city is much better off for that. I think if we do something like this, there's no doubt in my mind that I would have a certain advantage over people in other districts and running for the mayor. I think that's just a fact, and it's not, something that can be debatable. I like the fact that, people can have the opportunity to do it by, with the body and, how you perform and how you act, as a counselor and going forward. And I respect Councilor Gitcha because from day one, he's been go and just get it done. And, and he has not changed. And I respect that very much. I just happen to disagree on this motion with it. I think that the city has been in a good place for a long period of time now. I think this system does work. And until it shows that it doesn't work, I think we're okay with the way we do it now. So if there are no other comments, you can ask for a roll call on Councilor Janessa's motion first, or what do you want to do? Is that okay? All right, so the Councilor
Mr. Mayor, to clarify, is it going to the subcommittee? It's a motion to go to subcommittee?
Go to a subcommittee.
That's
yes.
right. Substitute. Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Gitchia.
No.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
No.
Councilor Scott.
No.
Councilor Yem.
No.
Councilor Belanger.
No.
Councilor Chow.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Six yeas.
Go to the subcommittee. 4.9, Councilor Belanger requests mayor establish an ad hoc subcommittee regarding homelessness. Is there a speaker on this one, Mr. Clerk?
No.
Okay. Seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As we all know, this has been a contentious issue that has absorbed a great deal of time on the floor here in the last weeks, months, and years, with progress, but I don't think we'd like to where we want to be. So with that being said, the spirit of the motion is to better serve this population and make this council more efficient during prime time too, focusing on the greater good for the city, because there was a lot of good stuff to be talking about. So what I envision is, if you were to see it clear, Mr. Mayor, and as well as my colleagues, to form a homelessness subcommittee that could more or less be floating, work very closely with the nonprofits throughout the city, even visit them and have meetings there, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever it takes to stay ahead of this issue, and come back to this body with some ideas, some incentives that would work for us to focus on. So I think the spirit of the motion is to really, best serve this population, and I think this motion achieves that by, again, if we can incorporate all the nonprofits in the city that are working hard, that would only help our cause. So I ask my colleagues for the support on this. Thank you very much.
Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to say I appreciate the motion by my colleague, looking for a way forward here and looking for a way to continue to help and to find solutions. I do wonder, though, if this subcommittee would duplicate much of the efforts of the Hunger Homeless Commission that currently exists, and whether it may be a better path forward to solicit volunteers from this body to be appointed to that body, rather than creating another subcommittee that would probably be talking about the same issues that they're talking about. I don't know if that's the best path forward, but I just thought I'd throw it out there for discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that Councilor Mercier every month has a scheduled meeting just for the senior citizens, Councilor, right? If, maybe for the ad hoc subcommittee of city councils, we can add that to the same meeting date of the commission. I mean, I think anything that keeps hour-long discussions of homelessness out of the city council meeting is a good thing. And if we have something that can come forward that shows progress, I think is also a good thing. But I could definitely take that into account if the motion passes. Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do concur with the concern that Councilor Jeunesse expressed, because I know we have a housing coordinator, and that housing coordinator, she's actually convened those housing people from the big three, as the manager always alluded to, CTI, local community health, and the shelters, and more, not just those three, but they meet monthly. So I'm not sure if having ad hoc committee from the council would really, duplicate for that. But if not, that's fine. But I'm just saying that maybe we just don't want to do a duplicate work on that. That's all.
Councilor Dakota, and Councilor Getcha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do appreciate Councilor Belanger's motion, but I share the same concern as Councilor Jeunesse. I'm wondering if Councilor Belanger would reconsider, and maybe what we can do is add probably 2 councilors to the Hunger Homeless Commission, and so it's all one unit. I would make that as a motion.
Councilor Getcha, second it. Go ahead, Councilor Getcha.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. I do agree with you, but on one point is, in order to get it to a subcommittee, you have to put in a motion. So that's the point to the whole, you're going to put a motion to go to the subcommittee anyway, so I like the hunger.
You meet monthly already at
Yeah.
the senior center, right? It's not, no
Yeah.
motion's there, you just go through the process, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we could do it
Again,
that
I
way.
just think, and we have worked extraordinarily hard on this issue.
And that's why I think that as we work, I think that I think the Hunger Homeless is a better place for it, just because there's a liability piece to this whole, if you don't meet, if you do meet, there's a whole piece to this that we're giving people strength in, and I just think the Hunger Homeless is the place for it. Let's keep it there. I'm just worried about if you don't meet, then what happens?
Councilor Blanchard, you good with that?
And that's just my only concern, that's all. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Councilor Belanger.
Councilor Mercer, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we're talking about monthly meetings, I did want to say about the senior center, senior issues, not so much senior center issues, but senior issues, seniors that go to the senior center and have an issue. We're taking our senior citizen subcommittee on the road. Members John Dakota, City Councilor Eric Gitchia, and myself. We're going to meet on the second Thursday, which is November 14th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon at the Senior Center. Just so if any senior happens to be there and you have a problem, you're welcome to come in and we'll discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So the motion on the floor is just to add 2 city councils to the Hunger Homeless Commission. I'm guessing Councilor Belanger will volunteer for one of those positions, and someone can reach out to me if they want to volunteer that time to serve on that one as well. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 410, Councilor Belanger, request city manager investigate if Commonwealth has accepted the city's transit-oriented district for MBTA communities on September 30th, and further work with DPD and all stakeholders to advise and market that district. Seconded by Councilor Dakota. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Great stuff here. Great stuff, Mr. Manager. I know your office, your administration has worked very hard. From the conversations I had with officials from the Commonwealth, we are among the city leaders in the Commonwealth on this topic, and it's very, very important. What this achieves is with the Gallagher Terminal and the train station being the epicenter. I think it's a half-mile circumference from that where we're able to create housing density, if you will, that does not require off-street parking and high-rise districts. And it's a rather big swath of land. Extends into the downtown, Cambodia town, as well as the Hamilton Canal. So it covers a lot of ground. It's a great, great opportunity for this body to increase the tax base. We always say, the homeowners need relief. Well, this is how we achieve that, by creating housing that doesn't encroach on current neighborhoods, but yet creates new ones. So it makes total sense that it does not require parking, being at a train station and the bus terminal. And I think it's a great initiative for us to stay out front to get out front. So, Mr. Manager, I'm looking for an update where you and the planning and development, where we are at with this and how we're going to go about marketing it and get, quote, shovels in the ground. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 5, communications, motion responses, 5.1A, co-op, Councilors Robinson and Getchia. Councilor Robinson?
Which?
Motion response A, co-op.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the response. Again, if I'm glad to see there's plans to address whatever. I guess for the time being or whatever, we don't have many options with location. I guess we're just gonna have to hope for the best at this new location, and I just sincerely hope that we don't impact any of the businesses in the immediate area as a result of this. So, thank you.
Councilor Getchia.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Through you to City Manager Golden. Manager Golden, do we have a plan to move them out of that building at some point? Are we still looking, even though this is a soft plan, something that's, an immediate plan, but is there a plan for future for the co-op to be moved out of that vicinity of the downtown business district?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, what we're trying to do is make the best of a plan that we have. Due to unforeseen circumstances from our end, we had to move our co-op team over to HHS, over our HHS building. If we have other buildings throughout that are not in the downtown, we could do that, but that's going to cause a problem with some of the clients getting there. So we have been talking about it. Myself and Ms. Golden have been discussing where this could go, but for the time being, it's going to stay where it's at, only simply because of our issue with space. But we are trying to rectify that in other matters. So for the time being, I've invited and asked everyone that's worked down there. Quite frankly, we all had a meeting last week with all of the department heads in that building, and I expect that if anybody felt unsafe, that we should know about it immediately. Assistant City Manager Machado was present at the meeting, wanting to make sure that all of the employees felt safe. There is a protocol that we're now putting into play for the time being, but once again, do I have a place where we can go tomorrow or even next week? I don't, but we will work on this. We have a couple of other ideas that at this time, I think the council knows. We've had a few discussions. It's something that we could be working with in the future.
Have we had discussions with the Middlesex Sheriff, because they're supposed to come back? So have you had those discussions? Is the co-op team welcome back in that area, or are they totally a separation between the two? Or is that one of the reasons why they left that area?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. I spoke personally to the sheriff and his team. They closed down for a whole host of reasons. They're reorganizing themselves. It's my understanding that they may be doing a soft opening. I don't want to speak for the sheriff at this time, but they may be doing a soft opening or a softer opening before they actually open to try to get things accomplished in that area. They do believe they're going to be changing some of their programming, which is going to require all the space that is located there. Once again, having known Peter for a number of years, Sheriff Katusian for a number of years, we talked about this. I said, we'll deal with it, not a big deal. We'll handle the situation, but currently right now in meeting with the special sheriff as well as Sheriff Katusian's assistant just last week, they had indicated at this time they are under a constraint of space. But communications are wide open. It had nothing to do with the sheriff's team not getting along with co-op, et cetera. So any of the any of the rumors that might be out there are just, that's not true at all. They're trying to go at this in a different manner, and I expect I'll be talking with the special sheriff as well as their new program manager with our HHS folks in the coming weeks, I assume.
There is no secret that there are issues with the co-op team even prior to the sheriff moving out that were in the sheriff's building. There were issues. And I'm just concerned that we're moving one issue from one place to our downtown location again with businesses who are complaining. And I'm sure there are people listening or even in this room that understand that the co-op was issues at the old area, and bringing those into the downtown where we're struggling right now with the business atmosphere and trying to maneuver people within 100 feet of 1,000 feet of the high school also, there will be challenges down there. So hopefully we have a long-term plan outside of this. That's all I'm questioning, what the long-term plan is outside of this to try to get resources. That's all. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, well said. The sheriff is retooling that center for the inmates, and I think they need all the space that's available there. I believe that's what it is. We didn't leave on any bad terms. But having said that, I thought this was very important because I know that the Lowell Police Department are doing drug sweeps and everything, and I think that this coincides with the stats that I just received from Pride Star Trinity EMS. When I will tell you that these stats, the overdose report from Pride Star Trinity EMS, the lowest amount of calls for overdoses since 2013. In September, this is the lowest overdose since 2013. The numbers are way down. That's amazing. The least amount of Narcan given on calls since 2014, the least amount. And that is due to the efforts of the police department. And then you've read it in the paper. I'm not making any of that up. If you read the paper, when the stats are saying what the police department has done, they've arrested people for carrying drugs, there's drug dealing, and they've put a squash to this. And I'm very proud of the efforts of the Lowell Police Department. Also, the co-op team and what they do, and all the people that are involved in making this a safer city, they're doing their jobs. I might not see the co-op team on a daily basis like I have before, but I know their work ethics. I know what they do. I know everything that they get involved with to make this a safer, better place. So I just wanted to say these stats, and I think all these low figures are due to the efforts of both the co-op team and the Lowell Police Department. Thank you.
Councilor Belanger, Robertson, then get you. Councilor Belanger?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I do appreciate the motion from my colleagues. It's very important, and I, as well as Councilor Mercia highlighting the figures, which I intended on doing. But yes, it's a very low number. I remember we started the task force, Councilor Mercia, back in 2014. And from that point, these numbers skyrocketed, and they seem to be at or near the low when we first started establishing the task force. But, you know, what's alarming is that although it's under 100, but better than 2/3 are from the downtown and the back central neighborhoods. And so, you know, I'd like to see this co-op, Mr. Manager, I know you did your best for what we have at the time, finding the co-op team a temporary home. We are absolutely committed to their efforts. As you saw, this body appropriated funds for 2 new vehicles just last week. Money well spent. But at the same time, I don't think this is the best location for that facility. So please, Mr. Manager, keep working diligently on finding an alternative location. I don't think the downtown is an appropriate location for this, but it will work in the interim. But please continue your efforts. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. I'd like to echo my colleague as far as I understand in part of the response, and I think when we presented this motion, I totally understand, and I commend you and your team for thinking on your feet and finding a location when we didn't really have much notice, and there has been no speculation on my part as to why. I mean, the sheriff's office is busy handling plenty of their own, and this falls under our purview. So as my colleague mentioned, I think currently the location isn't ideal. Hopefully we can keep that in the back of our minds. For the services, as Councilor Mercier points out, the volume and the amount of services that the co-op team provide to the community, it's just, I think this location isn't really conducive to that, but we'll make it work as we've done in the past. And also, didn't they have a satellite location at the Elliott Church for a while?
Ms. Golden?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Manager, Council. I just wanted to mention that the co-op being at 107 Merrimack Street, they come in during the day, and one of the things about them being at the health department that they didn't have on Summer Street, they weren't hooked up to the MIS system, so they didn't have access to any of the computer systems, and the police officer didn't have access to the Larimore system, so he never had access to being able to get to any of the police reports. So those are great things that he has coming to the health department right now. So what they do is they come in and they have their morning meeting, and one person stays back, because what we want them to do is have like office hours and to have appointments with people. One of the big things for their COSOP grant that they have right now is to have follow-up with their clients, because they're clinical recovery specialists. So it's not just getting people into treatment, they have to have follow-up with these clients. So the clients come back to an office. So that's what it is. When they were at the sheriff's office, which Councilor Mercier knows, it was just a drop-in. So it was just a door of drop-in, and people would just come. And the co-op never had time to like come up for air and know what was going on. And she'll tell you that like nobody was ever able to do documentation or catch up with a computer system or anything. So now they have a time that they have an office, they're able to put stuff into the computer, they're able to get documentation done, they're able to get statistics and get stuff in order. But they come to the office, and then they have teams. One team is in the office, one team goes to Elliott Church, one team goes to Summer Street, one team goes to encampments. So they have a supervisor now who knows what to do and how to do these things, and they get their marching orders, and they all go out. Nobody is in except for the people who have clients to see that day, and this is what happens. So people aren't stationed there, they all go out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm glad to see that there's well thought out coordination there. My only concern that I've heard from people in the immediate area is initially maybe, and this has changed, it seems like you've implemented, was the mail service.
Yep.
They had people lined up coming to retrieve mail. If there is a heavy focus on bringing clients in, that's why I say I don't think this location is ideal for that component. Everything else sounds amazing. I think it's lending itself to some positives that they didn't have access to before. But I think currently, if maybe could we potentially look at utilizing the Elliott space for more of the in-client to kind of not bring it into the downtown business where people don't understand this setup and scheduling effort, and they're still showing up looking for mail or whatever it may be. You know, I'm saying to mitigate any impacts that we've heard as a council from the businesses, and it sounds like a lot of that is already implemented and in place, but it's just a matter of the clients that don't necessarily understand the meeting times that are coming in looking for mail or what other services. So that's all. But I'm glad to see that it sounds like you guys have it really well worked out as far as a couple different site locations with breaks in the team. So thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, and my office is on the 4th floor, and I'm right there where they come in on that side. So I keep my ears open all the time to hear what's going on. So that's why I wrote in the motion response, we're trying to change it, sometimes even daily, as to what we're doing. So we're trying to stay on top of it. Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Gitcha?
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. I just wanted to ask about the Pride Star report. Well, it was brought up by Councilor Mercier. Is the Pride Star report, is that inclusive of what our fire department gives for Narcan?
Yes, if you look on I think it's the second page. If you look on the second page, I think is the the Narcan. I think in the middle boxes right there, it will break it out as to LPD, fire department, and then it's Pride Star, and then I think it's the ALS from the hospital.
Okay, yeah. And my question is, because we had Mr. O'Keefe here 2 weeks ago, last week, and he had stated from the DEA, he said that overdose deaths are down, but Narcan was way up.
Yes.
And in this, it's saying in our community that everything is down.
This is the first month. Yep, this is the first month it's down. They had been up. This is the first month that we've gone down.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
So I believe at one point on there, you'll see, if you look on the first page, I don't have any glasses on, I'm a little bit old. I'm sorry. When you look on the first page right here, this was what he was referring to. If you look on the first page where it says 99, you'll see that the other months were like 140, and then we dropped to 99. That's what he was referring to.
And I agree with Councilor Mercier that this is an amazing stat if we're starting to go the other way and we're starting to see a difference. So we're doing something right in the city after we've been told we've been doing everything wrong by certain people. And I just want to make that clear that the mission statement for this council is humanity and trying to help people. So, and I want to say thank you to the manager for all of your efforts in your administration, and also Ms. Golden for her efforts also. I think it's important when you look out throughout the country and you see a stat that's going way up and we're combating, and it's starting to go down the other way. It may be 1 month, cross your fingers, as people would say, but I think it's a positive step, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
What's your response be? Odoto Bathhouse, Council Scott.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the response. I do think a shade structure would be a great reuse of that property. If you go by there on any day, there's parents scattered all over the asphalt sitting there in the hot sun. It would also be nice to see this included as a public project under the CPA funding. So I look forward to seeing more of these projects, for that use. Thank you.
What's your response C, 535 Pawtucket Street? It's by myself. I did see the report. Thankful for the quick cleanup after the report motion was filed. Just a quick question. The demolition order has been lifted. Are they planning on renovating and rebuilding, or what are they doing? Mr. Manager?
Thank you. There are plans to renovate the site. The property is located within a floodplain, and so a decision has been made to keep the structure on site, so they are allowed to essentially rebuild within the same footprint. But the owners and the team they're working with on the development has met with the building commissioner and has come into development services to discuss their plans, and so they're working on that right now.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Councilor Dakota.
And just to clarify, all the taxes are up to date and fines that have been implemented?
The taxes are up to date, the last we checked, and the fines that had been implemented and were not waived or put on hold were paid up. We essentially put some minimum maintenance fines on a sort of temporary waiver, assuming that they continue to maintain the property accordingly. And so they're also even with us for now, but we're keeping an eye on the property.
We're looking at putting a fence around that area as well, correct?
I believe they are working on trying to secure it, so there's no access.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's important to note as well that if there are any taxes that are owed in the back, permits can't be pulled, so they wouldn't be able to move forward. But it's my understanding through Assistant City Manager Machado as well as Assistant City Manager Rose that everything is working a lot better now. Everyone, communication is increased dramatically, and our hope is that we see redevelopment of that area, however that may happen.
Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to let you know that the owner have reached out to me, and I have reached out to the manager. They would like to sit down with the city. They understand that the city is, try to housing production is part of the city plan, and they would like to sit down with the city. And I'm trying to have a meeting with the manager and his staff to talk about how can they move forward with the housing production as part of the city plan. So the manager and I and the owner will be meeting together and then come up with a plan to make that site productive and hopefully produce more housing for that area. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. 5.2, Efficient Report, Capital Improvements at Collie. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, it'd be my intention, this is a rather lengthy report, and there's a lot of discussions. Mr. Byrne is here to have any of those brief discussions, but my thought process would be to really get into this with Parks and Finance. We've made incredible strides out at Collie Stadium, and I think that this council has made this happen. The administration's been given the charge to make sure that we have a first-class facility, and I think that that has just happened. We've just really turned the corner. I want to thank Commissioner St. Cyr, Mr. Byrne, who was here tonight, with the fact of the soccer field, which I know many of you went out there just a few weeks ago. A few of you even tried to kick the ball around, which I thought was kind of interesting. Didn't go as well as others had planned, but it's our commitment, this council's commitment, this administration's commitment to ensure that the Collie Stadium complex is going to be a first-class complex. So that being said, my intent is to ask the council to consider sending this to Finance and Parks to figure out what's next? How do we accomplish this goal to making this that first-class facility that each and every one of us want?
Motion by Councilor Gitche to send it to a Parks and Finance Subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Noon. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Need a motion to accept and place on file all communications from the city manager by Councilor Yum, seconded by Councilor Robinson. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 6, ordinance from the city manager. 6.1, ordinance to amend Chapter 222, unlawful camping on public property. Mr. Clerk.
There is a registered speaker here. John Beeson Healy.
Good evening. I'm following up. My son, Richard Healy, was in here a couple weeks ago talking about what happens at the Keep pretty much on a nightly basis. And I'm here because he called me Sunday night, and then Mr. Michaud fielded a visit to his office after my son asked me not to come down to the city manager's office, because that night he broke up a fight where a woman who was probably a very addicted drug addict was being assaulted to the point where he feared for her life. He broke up that fight. And then a little bit later found out that there was somebody smoking crack out in front of one of the other windows in the dining room. And then finally, the end of the evening, as he was taking out the trash, he was jabbed by a hypodermic needle that was left on top of the trash can. So he went to the emergency room and was tested for everything. So as you can understand, as his mother, this was something a little bit more concerning than what made me call his baseball coach, as he told Mr. Michaud when he was a young man. And I, unlike a lot of people I know who used to go to the Keep, I still go there. And as Richard mentioned, I've had incidents walking to my car. My very close friend who will accompany me sometimes, who said to me when I told her I wouldn't let her walk to her car alone, said, "I grew up here. I've never been afraid." Okay. That area of town I have watched decline worse and worse and worse over the past year. And like Richard said, we have compassion for addiction. And as many of us know, family, very close family members, friends that have had, addictions, some have died. So we have a lot of compassion for what they're dealing with. But what I don't have compassion for is when you talk to a lot of the addicts, and they are from Chelmsford, Tewksbury, Billerica, all of these surrounding towns. And we find out that they are being dropped off in Lowell because they don't have services and resources. And that angers me because it is costing my son his business. It's costing him his safety. I have another son who has another business right by the Transitional Living Center. And what they have had to put up with there is the same. And this approval of people just camping and hanging out and littering the streets really just bothers me because I chose to move to Lowell, raise my family of 7 children here, and I've seen it go down the tubes. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm saying it because I believe it's really because of the opioid crisis and not because of homelessness or because of the wonderful work that we do with accommodating people who don't have the means to live in the other towns around us that continue to criticize Lowell, that continue to just dump what they consider their refuse and their problems here. And in our discussion, I, really don't like to be the person who can't offer any solutions. And the conclusions that I have come to is that this is not something that we can really address just on a local level. This is something that we really should be pressuring our state representatives to be helping us with, and especially as they're up for election. And I want to know where they are in weighing in on why all of the surrounding towns don't have the resources. My conclusion is they don't want to have the resources because it's a lot better to just drop them off here. And, as somebody who felt like teaching my children accountability, how can I be the person who doesn't say, why are we not holding the surrounding towns who, as I've said before, very publicly criticize Lowell and act like they don't want to step foot in here because it's a terrible place. It's costing the MRT, it's costing all of the businesses that have worked really hard. And I think it's time that they are held accountable. People like Vanna Howard and Ed Kennedy, if they want to keep their jobs, they need to be held accountable. And I believe right up to Lori Trahan, even though she has said on a federal level that she can't do anything about that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And I don't want it to cost my son his life. I think it's already going to cost him his business. And he has put everything on the line. So for not just the present, but for future businesses and future people, I ask you to try to do something different and to make other people in higher positions more accountable.
Thank you, Mrs. Healy. Thank you. So, just so you know, we're going to be back here again on November 12th, hopefully for the public hearing on the ordinance. And if you want to come back and speak on it again on the 12th, you're more than welcome to do so. But thank you for your words. Need a motion to refer to a public hearing on November 12th, 2024 by Councilor Getchia, seconded by Councilor Chow. All those in favor say aye.
Quick comment,
Motion
Mr.
passes.
Yeah. I just want to thank the speaker. Just a quick comment. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming out to speak. Like the mayor said, if you couldn't come back for the public hearing and address the same, and we have been working very hard. And thank you for your courage to come out to speak. I think your son came to speak at the council 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah. Thank you again, ma'am.
Thank you. 6.2, ordinance to amend Chapter 227, motion detector lighting, We'll give a motion to refer to a public hearing on November 12th by Councilor Getchia, second by Councilor Mercia. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 7, reports, Subcommittee 7.1, Transportation Subcommittee, October 15th, 2024. Chairman Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Transportation Subcommittee met on October 15th. Present were myself, Councilor Janess, and Councilor Noon, as well as Councilor Getchia, Mercia, Belanger, Yam, our Transportation Engineer, Elizabeth Altman, and Ting Chang, our City Engineer. We had two items for our business. One was the Andover Street infrastructure. Ms. Altman provided a report regarding Andover Street infrastructure through a presentation entitled Lowell Route 133 Repair and Restoration Options. Ms. Altman noted it was entire overview of the street and outlined options available to change structure. The options included repairing current concrete service, which would only cover about 10 to 15% of the area. The second option was HMA overlay, which would be full replacement with asphalt, which would include upgrading bike lanes and turning lanes. Ms. Altman noted neighborhood input was done before the asphalt option and that there should be made aware of that option, which it will be. I'd like to thank Councilor Belanger for getting the word out, but there will be a meeting at the Riley School on November 16th, Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning, to discuss this further. The second item was the Father Morissette Front Street intersection improvements. I noticed, Councilor Janess had actually got some correspondence from a couple of, actually UMass Lowell, as well as the Lowell Planning, asking for if they could participate in discussion concerning the improvements at that intersection. So we will be having informational session this Thursday at the Pollard Library at 6 o'clock, and next Monday, October 28th at 7 p.m. at the LTC Media Center. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, 7.2, Nonprofit Organization Subcommittee, October 22nd, 2024. On to next week by Councilor Getchia. 8 announcements. Are there any announcements? Quickly, Councilor Jess, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that tomorrow there's a ribbon cutting for the Gagnon Place project, which is at the former AG Hardware building on Lakeview Avenue at 1 p.m. Unfortunately, sorry, it's on Thursday. Unfortunately, I will not be able to make it, but if anyone else is interested in attending, that is an option.
That's Thursday, right, Councilor? Thursday? Yeah.
Thursday, 1 p.m., yes.
Yeah. Then quickly, I was in Toronto in September at the Urban Economic Forum, and at that conference, made a couple of contacts and come to find that Lowell is eligible for the Front Runner Community Initiative. And what that is, it's we apply, and if we hit a certain number of steps in the process, we are eligible for a significant amount of money for areas such as sustainable development, revitalization, housing, and things like that. So there's going to be a communication and a vote on for next week. The entire council, along with the city manager, has been invited to Toronto to tour what has been done up there. They had a drug problem in their downtown. They had a homelessness problem in their downtown. And Toronto applied for it, and they were granted a ton of money. I don't want to get into the specific amount because I don't want to get anybody's hopes too high, but they helped revitalize the downtown area over the course of 3 to 5 years, which was a very short period of time. So I'm looking forward to hopefully the councils can make themselves eligible to go. The dates as of right now would be November 20th to the 22nd, but that'll be, and please correspond with either the manager's office or to Erastus. And they want total buy-in from the council and from the administration. So if it's feasible for councils to go, we would love for that to happen. But more information will come out on it, but I just want to give a heads up for next week. And I think it's a worthwhile opportunity to pursue. There's no upfront cost for the city of Lowell. As long as we hit certain benchmarks, we qualify, again, for a lot of money for a lot of areas that we do need. So I just want to leave it with that. And Councilor Getchia, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to announce that tomorrow is Red Ribbon Week. Recognition each year, October 23rd to the 31st. It's the nation's largest and longest running substance use prevention campaign. Since its beginning in 1985, it has been it's touched the lives of millions of people around the world. So I'm hoping that maybe the manager can get somebody to light up City Hall in red for Prevention Week starting tomorrow. Maybe there's a way that we can get some red lights out there to try to give it some, or maybe even Friday or something, just so that we can get going on it. I just wanted to recognize Prevention Week.
And before we adjourn, I'm sorry, I apologize. I got to just make a motion to accept the subcommittee reports of placement on file by Councilor Dakota, second by Councilor Getchia. Councilor Young, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to have maybe the manager can update it because tomorrow at from 6:30 to 8 p.m. part of the Parker Lecture Series and the UMass Lowell proudly present Admiral Michael Gilday, a distinguished native of Lowell, who served as the 32nd Chief of Naval Operation. I think there is a reception for him as well, Mr. Manager. So if you could let the councilor know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Councilors, hopefully everyone received a phone call today in regards to Admiral Gilday, who is a Lowellian, who quite frankly is very impressive if you get the opportunity to read his bio. He's going to be here tomorrow at UMass Lowell. The doors are open at 6:30 for the general public to be there and to listen to him, and it's going to be a Q&A back and forth. This is definitely worthwhile of any and every Lowellian attending to meet one of its favorite sons, if you would, coming back that was on the Joint Chief of Staff. And I think that's pretty impressive. And his family is still here. His mom still lives locally, and he's coming back, and very excited to host him tomorrow. But tomorrow evening, the general public will be 6:30 p.m. I think we're going to start promptly at 7 o'clock. So if you want to let folks know what's happening, that would be great, or if people can spread the word. So that is starting tomorrow, UMass Lowell South Campus. It's going to be a great opportunity, and everything's on our Facebook page. The second piece I just want to bring to everyone's attention is the annual Monster Bash is back here this Saturday from 12 to 3. That's going to be a very exciting time if anyone has had the opportunity to come here. City Hall becomes a very, very scary place for our small folks walking through and having a lot of fun and a lot of laughs. And they'll be going throughout downtown Lowell with candy and whatnot. And we also have Pumpkins and Pints, which is going to be downtown in the Enterprise Bank. And there's 4 rides, I believe. It was either 3 or 4, but I think we finally settled on 4. And unfortunately, no, the mayor cannot ride on these rides. They're just for little guys, 3 feet and under. But Navigation Brewery will be there, et cetera. And they'll have some music and whatnot. So it's going to be a great opportunity to come on downtown to Lowell with kids, grandchildren, whatever the case may be. Monster Bash is just, they knock it out of the park every single year. So we figured we'd make it a little bit better in hopes of pushing some folks into the downtown for restaurants, et cetera. So that's, once again, Monster Bash is 12 to 3, and the event, Pumpkins and Pints, is in the Enterprise parking lot from 1 to 5. So.
Great, thank you. Motion by Councilor Robinson to adjourn, second by Councilor Scott. Good night.